An Amber Alert issued 2 years ago to find Summer Wells is still active. Good evening, I'm Sarah Diamond.
I'm Josh Smith. Despite nationwide attention received by her disappearance, there are still no answers as to what happened to the little girl. The most significant recent development came yesterday when an age-progressed image was released showing what Summer could look like now at the age of 7. That's the photo on the left of your screen.
Summer was 5 when she disappeared. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says there are no new details they can publicly release. But we have team coverage tonight. Clarice Shaley is at a vigil to help find Summer and honor other missing people.
But first, we'll go to Ansley Daniel, who spoke with Don Wells, Summer's father. Ansley, you've been tracking this case from the start.
Yeah, Josh and Sarah, here we are 2 years later, still trying to find out what happened to Summer. And tonight, her father is seeking some answers of his own.
I'm just having to put my faith completely in God and know that He has a better plan. And that's pretty much where I'm at. My wife is still struggling.
A lot has changed for the Wells family over the last 2 years since their daughter Summer went missing from their Beach Creek home in Hawkins County.
Social media have come out, and protested at my job, everywhere we go, and so it's hard for us to get any work or anything in Eastern Tennessee.
Wells says he and his wife Candace have been in Arkansas on and off for the last few months, where he's been working in construction. He also says they've been working with the Department of Children's Services there to get their 3 older sons back. They've been in Tennessee DCS custody since the month after Summer was reported missing.
I think they're scared of our house because of what happened, and is one of the issues, so we would like to buy another house here in Arkansas.
The house he's referring to on Ben Hill Road is where his daughter went missing from.
We couldn't understand what happened to Summer. The police couldn't understand, and they were questioning us. At times they were hard on us, and other times they weren't. Just depending on what police agency was there at the time.
2 years later, he and Candace have no clues as to where Summer is.
We try to bounce things off of each other all the time. We might have talks about, some of the drug activity that was going on at the time and was going on right after her disappearance for quite a while. But yeah, there's nothing new.
Don says the family stays in touch with law enforcement through their private investigators.
About 2 months ago, they talked to our private investigators, and the FBI did, and they shared what they could with us. But they was just trying to come up with any new information or leads that they possibly could, and so far, we just haven't been able to come up with anything.
As 2 years pass with no new information publicly released, Don says the emotional toll is weighing on the family, especially Candace.
She's been burnt by so many people that want to, supposedly, interview her or help and stuff, and then basically turn on her in every imaginable way. She's been hurt deeply by these kind of things, plus the thought of, we lost our daughter, and, our boys are in custody also with the CPS.
He says they haven't been able to talk to their sons.
Well, at first we were allowed to talk to them and everything, but we haven't been able to talk to them for about 6 months, no contact or anything like that. And that's all we want to do, is be able to tell them that we love them and we're rooting for them, and we're working on, things to get them back.
Hope is hard to hold on to after all this time, but Don says he's clinging to faith.
Whatever the outcome is, I have hope in God, and one day, either sooner or later, I will be with my daughter again.
I've reached out to the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, the TBI, the FBI, and the Wells family's private investigators. They all declined an interview, but the TBI did answer some questions via email. Those answers, however, don't bring us any closer to knowing what happened to Summer. Josh, Sarah?
All right. Welcome everyone. Kelly, welcome. We have Bobby Two Trill.
Hey. Hey, Kelly.
We got CW over there across the pond. And a chilly day. It's chilly here too in the Midwest. It's like mid-30s, man. Is it chilly there out east? Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 29 degrees last night, so I think we're probably like 30, 32 degrees today so
I
far.
think our high today is only supposed to get about 33. We have Joni joining us. She said, "Oh snap, Summer Wells. I started in on Delphi to take a break from the Summer Wells case."
All right.
Well, sorry, you're back on the job. And then she says, "Hey guys, by the way, why are you all not at Groundswell? Groundswell. I don't even know what that is. That's probably a good reason why I'm not there."
Yeah.
I know.
I'm totally out of the loop. I don't know.
Yeah, you caught us off guard. We are going to talk about Summer Wells, and I want to reiterate what I mentioned on our last show that we are going to be continuing the Cheryl Coker case next week, and some Delphi news on that. Welcome, Tom, from This Is Tom's World YouTube channel. I got some emails I want to send out. I want to see what kind of documents I can get on Cheryl Coker. I want to see if I can get any answers through email. Our friends over there I call them our friends at Grizzly True Crime. I don't know if they consider us friends, but we're all kind of in the same boat here. Groundswell is a peaceful protest going on at the Indiana Supreme Court steps.
Oh, really? Well, I didn't know.
I did not.
I was unaware too.
Yeah, because I've been so concentrated on trying to look into this Summer Wells, which has been very difficult with my work schedule and everything going on. I haven't even looked into Delphi or anything. We were just talking about that. Anything new come up with Delphi? And then you had mentioned that, yes, today is the 27th. Gall goes in front of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's about all I know.
That's about all I know right now. CW. I'm not sure what the mid-30s is. I have to convert. It's 5 degrees. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they use Celsius over there. Right. So it's 5 degrees Celsius here, which is about high 30s. Supposed to be -1 Celsius overnight over there where he's at. And Joni says, in relation to Richard Allen and all of our rights as per the Constitution.
Right on.
Man, now I wish I knew.
That's awesome.
Now I wish I knew something, man. Maybe we could have done something live, man.
Yeah.
Take a little trip out there.
Yeah, that would have been all right.
That would have been awesome. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. So, again, we are going to be diving back into Cheryl Coker, which is very, very local here. 20 minutes up the road, man. This guy, who knows how many times we passed old Billy Boy, out and about. Crazy. Fucking surreal. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the Summer Wells case. June 15th, 2021. So very recent. They even have the time. It's 6:15 p.m. was when she was declared missing. A strange case. Before we dive in, I guess let's just give a summary of it, and then we'll just go around the room here, and you guys tell me what you think. Apparently, on this day, the boys apparently were in school. I'm assuming. Because Summer was the only, I guess, child other than a friend of the family named Hunter, 15-year-old boy named Hunter, whose mom and Summer's mom used to be friends, had a little, altercation. They don't really talk, to each other. But anyway, he was there. Candace and her, it gets a little confusing because I think they call them both Candy, but there's like a Candy and a Candace. Is that right? The grandmother, is that what they?
I've heard of both be called that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was Summer's mom, Summer's grandmom, Candace's mom, and this 15-year-old boy. They were taking the grandmother to the hospital. She had some leg issues or whatnot, and they dropped me off, or they dropped me off. I wasn't there, I promise.
You should know what's going on then. What's going on, Kurt?
I mean, if my hair was down in the beard, I look like I could live in the fucking mountains. They dropped her off. There was a little bit of wait. They dropped her off. She was waiting to see the doctor, get prescribed medication. I believe there's drug issues that go through that family, at least with the mom and dad, and we'll get into that. So they're like, all right, well, we got time. And this is where stories start contradicting between two people that were there. It's Candace says that, oh, damn it, I forgot his name already.
Hunter.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
brain fart. Candace says Hunter called her. Now, this is a weird relationship here.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I can understand maybe that, maybe you get close to, a friend of yours' kids. You're close to my kids.
Right.
Bobby is, I can understand that. But it seems almost like Candace, it's like a best friend, like you're hanging out, but let's just say for the sake of argument, okay, he's a friend because they also have 3 boys.
Yeah.
I don't know their ages right offhand. The oldest one looks like he may be close to Hunter's age. So maybe Candace got close to this boy because, he would always come over, maybe hang out with the boys, whatever. Okay. So here's where the contradictions start. Like I say, Candace says that Hunter called her and said, hey, well, if you ain't, doing anything, you come over and hang out. She claims, well, you're going to have to ask your mom and blah, blah, blah. Hunter says Candace called him, said he had some spare time. And, it all turned around. Regardless of how that went down, Hunter gets picked up. And they all go, well, it's a nice day, mid-80s. They said, let's hit the little swimming hole. We got some time to kill. Before that, they make a couple pit stops, grab a couple twisted teas. Why does anybody drink those, man?
I never even heard of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 5% alcohol, man. I've never had one. But they grabbed some twisted teas. They grabbed some like e-cigs, some vape pens, not the cannabis vape pens. So when we say vape pens, just know it's of the tobacco variety, the nicotine, they grab a few of those. And then I think that's when they hit the swimming hole. Now, the grandmother, she says, was with them.
Yeah.
When they went down to the swimming hole. So so they were waiting for the prescription. That's what it was.
Yeah, I think they said something about the grandmother sitting in the car on her phone while they went down
on TikTok. Yeah, it said she was playing on her phone. They go down to the little swimming hole that Candace even posted a little TikTok video of Summer that day in the Granny was putting minutes on her phone. That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are going to have to forgive us, man. We've all had a hectic week. So if we miss something, please pop it in there. We're big boys and girls. We know, we can take it. We're not egomaniacs like some people out there, but so they're sitting there, and Hunter, she says Hunter takes off into the woods. Hunter says he's sitting there, he's drinking a twisted tea, hitting a vape pen, and oh, you're not nitpicking, Joni. No, you're. Please correct us if we're wrong, or if we missed something. Yeah, Hunter says he's sitting there and he's, having a little sweet. So I almost said sweet tea.
Yeah.
Twisted tea, vape pen. He says he's watching Summer. The mom, not so much. Outside of the TikTok video.
This Hunter is 15, by the way.
Hunter is 15. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah.
Which adds to why it's so strange that they're hanging out, because I know you mentioned that Bobby's friends with your kids. Your kids are adults. This is not an adult. This is a child. So it just seems odd to me, like you said before, that they're hanging out drinking together.
Right. Oh, she calls him her homie.
Yeah, because I can absolutely, I know for sure I've never, when your kids were minors, I never called them and asked them if they wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go for it's just it's strange. And yes, as Joni mentioned, Hunter's situation doesn't have anything to do with the disappearance except for the timeline. And that's a great point, because that's the biggest issue here is this timeline.
Yeah.
And real quick says, I think they met up over a little bit of weed that day, Hunter and Candace. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, there probably was some, weed involved. She always looks like she's on something, the mom. Yeah. Candace always looks like she's on something.
Absolutely.
But something weird happens. Hunter says that all of a sudden Summer goes underwater. And doesn't come up for, a few seconds, to the point where it scared him to where he ran out there and got her up. Candace, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, good listeners, Candace says she didn't even see that didn't happen. Am I right there? Because I thought I heard her say that she didn't see, or no, she said that she went under, she would go under and pop right back up. That is not what Hunter said. Hunter said
it sounded like they had different stories.
Yeah. So the timeline, the contradicting stories, and honestly, I'm more apt to believe Hunter than I am Candace.
I am too.
Hunter said he says lies. Yes, Hunter just trying to sound like a hero, she said.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't that important. Good afternoon, Hash Brown. So maybe it wasn't that serious. Hunter just wanted to seem like a big guy saving the day. That's possible. You talk about speculation. you get a handful here.
Right off the cuff though, man, if a woman her age is, going out with a 15-year-old kid and sharing beer and, things are obviously illegal for him. What else are they sharing? That gives me that idea too.
I think you got to go down every road, as weird as that is.
Yeah.
One of the interviewers in one of those shows that we were watching, I can't think of his name. I know you said it right before the show.
Oh, Chris Donahue. Yeah, I think he's a retired detective.
He blatantly asked, was there anything more or any type of relationship with you and Hunter? And her response was so strange to me. It was like a laugh and well, I have a husband and 4 kids and I love them to death. Okay, doesn't mean you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. I mean, people cheat all the time, and I would hope you're not doing it with a minor, but at the same time, sounds like things are a little sketchy surrounding the family. So
I said Donahue.
Yeah, it is.
Chris McDonough.
Absolutely, Kelly. It's bizarre. You figured her first response to that would have been, well, he's a kid.
Yeah, that's exactly 100% what I was expecting when I heard that question, and it was, "Well, I'm married with 4 kids,"
Yeah.
and not he's 15 years old.
Mm.
Right, right.
Right.
Here's a good point. Joni says, and I believe this too. Joni says, I think Summer was a badass tomboy chick and could probably swim like a fish.
Yeah. I would say
Uh,
so.
I agree. He's a biased asshole, Chris McDonald. Yeah, he's hard for me to watch, but
Yes.
I liked watching the videos
The video, yeah.
of him going through the house. So, all right, they pick up the medication. They make a couple pit stops. They hit a Sonic for a little slushy. No food is ever mentioned, which is odd anyway. They go back to the house. Candace asked, Summer, hey, you want to help me and Grandma replant some flowers? Oh, she says that she jumped up. She was so excited. Yeah, she's going to go over there. She ate a piece of candy or whatever, and then said she needed to go back to the house, which the house is probably only about 30 feet, 40 feet from
Yeah.
the grandma's trailer right there. But everything is pretty much in eye shot except for that basement door,
Right.
which is where Candace and her husband, as well as Summer's bedroom, I believe, is all down there. So she said that she walked Summer over there. Summer went inside. She told the boys, "Hey, keep an eye on Summer. I'm gonna go back, finish helping Grandma replant these little flowers or whatever."
It's about 10 steps away.
Yeah, it's not far
It's right
away.
next door.
Yeah, and she said that she was gone 3 to 5 minutes. So she goes back into the house. The boys are sitting there watching TV. She says, "Where's Summer?" Oh, well, she went downstairs to play with her toys, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's pretty typical, I guess, of Summer. It's where all of her toys are. She went down there to play. She wanted to be a kid. She didn't want to plant flowers anymore. Nothing out of the ordinary there until you have to go down to the basement. Because that's a weird entrance to a basement.
Yeah.
The inside of this house is, and I'm not, I've been in downtrodden situations before.
But there's
So
some Harry Potter shit living in cabinets. Seemed
Yeah.
a little odd. Yeah, I agree. Believe me, I'm not trying to. But it was
It is.
definitely an odd. I'd be so scared being a mother of 4, having my kids in an area like that, not being able to get to them quickly in case of an emergency. I guess is a better way of putting it, rather than
yeah,
locking them in some Harry Potter shit.
Right on.
there was, and it is. It's almost like you're going into a cabinet to get down to the basement. It's almost a like a bar or cabinet with like a hole cut out, and you just dunk down, get underneath the cabinet, bloop bloop bloop,
Yeah.
right down like a little
Yeah.
secret passage or something.
Yeah.
Welcome, Ruby Slippers. She goes to the top of the steps underneath the cabinet. Hey, Summer. There's no answer. Okay. She decides to go down there. Summer is nowhere. And that is the disappearance of Summer. And that's all that most of us know, honestly, because the rest is really just speculation. There's a lot of oddball things that we're going to talk about here. We'll start with you, Kelly. Where do you want to go? What is your overall opinion of this case and just the story leading up to it?
It's difficult because it's hard to read them when you're listening to their interviews because their intelligence level is so low. And again, we're not making fun of anyone,
Right.
nothing like that. I come from Baltimore, so the last thing I'm doing is making fun of anyone. But
Me too.
what I will say, and what I will say is their responses are so strange, and there's not a lot of emotion behind it. And being a mother of 4, that seems odd to me. I would be destroyed. A couple things that stood out to me was when that gentleman did the interview and they did the walk through the house and they crawl through the cabinet to go downstairs. She can't recall if the door was locked or not. That's something that to me would have stood out. If I lost my child, was my door unlocked? Because my thought would have been, okay, she walked out the door then. That would have been a thought. So that's something that seemed odd to me. Also, the fact that she pointed out that her daughter did play in the woods. So at first it was, my daughter doesn't go anywhere but the swing, or she's inside, or right on this porch. That's it. Then in another interview, it's, my daughter does play in the woods out back, because as you see the property, anyone who's seen that video, it is kind of a secluded property area. It doesn't look like you're not in a townhome right next door to someone. There's a little bit of wooded area around it. But then it was, she doesn't play in the woods. She does play in the woods. So could she have disappeared in the woods? Could she have gotten lost in the woods? But then the dad's response to that and the police officers looking for her was, I feel bad that they're wasting their time. I know she was abducted. She wouldn't just be out here in the woods. That was a very strange response, wasting their time. Like, I would be doing everything possible.
I want to stop you there, because that was really one of the first things when I started looking into this, and I started watching the interviews, that stuck out like a sore thumb. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. You already know.
Yeah.
I mean, for a fact. Just based on that, you told your 5-year-old, don't go in the woods alone. There's animals out there. You could get hurt out there. I mean, come on, 5 years old.
As a legitimate parent, you would be like, can we get more people out here to search,
Exactly, 100%. And that would be my response. And I also live now in an area with a farm. There's coyotes, there's bears. That's something that I have a fear of as well. I've watched videos of coyotes carry off little kids. She's 5. She was tiny,
The dingo ate my baby.
But that's a thought, I would want you search in the woods. What if something did grab my child, whether it was a person, an animal? You said yourself, the mother, Candace, we've warned them before. There's bears and there's coyotes out here. Be aware of what's around you. Don't go too far. So why wasn't that a thought then? Unless you knew something else happened. And I'm not accusing anyone, but the circumstances surrounding this situation are very strange. The reactions from the parents, the family, are just odd to me.
Yeah. Joni says, wait, we need background on Kelly. Mother of 4 from Baltimore. Got it.
Yes.
Helps understand your perspective. That's funny. It says, unless she said it like that because she knew she was probably with XYZ Chester.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it is all like all we can do is really speculate, but there's a lot of things that aren't adding up with the fact of the parents acting like they just have no idea, which seems odd. You're over there shaking your head like a madman, Bobby.
Things stick out right away. If you're going to investigate this, right where you started off, you've got the last person to see this girl is the mother. She was with her all day. There's a 15-year-old kid that she's supplying booze and cigarettes to, which a lot of people, I think, could see that as grooming, possibly. It's right there. It's lead me in a direction to think, did Summer see something between them that she wasn't supposed to see that day? Those are my thoughts that are going through my head as I'm sitting here.
Now, do you have an actual case where something like that happened?
It did. Here in Dayton, there was the Ritchie family,
this was like 15 or so years ago.
Oh, about 25 years.
25 years.
And the girl came in on her mother cheating with somebody on her husband. And so that the husband wouldn't find out, they both killed the girl and put her in an oil tank. It does happen.
So, yeah. So what did this, you speculating or theorizing, just that this is something that.
How would it look if anybody, say as a grown man, you see me plying a 15-year-old girl with cigarettes and alcohol? What assumptions are you going to make about me? I think those assumptions should be made in this case too. Just because it's a woman doesn't make it any different. Why is she hanging around with a 15-year-old and supplying him with beer and stuff? And he's talking about taking his shirt off and getting in there with Summer to help her because she, this or this is going on, and the mother didn't really notice. I'd like to really know what happened that day between them while they were there. I think to me, it just stands out right now at the moment as we're talking about this. She's the last person to see the girl too.
Yeah.
And another odd angle, which I know we touched on a little bit, is the father's background. The father has previous allegations of sexual assault on minors. So this was his stepsisters. Two of his stepsisters came forward after finding out about the disappearance of their daughter, and stated that they were sexually assaulted from the time they were 5 years old, which is the same age as Summer, up until they were 12 years old. And they did take this into a legal proceeding. And unfortunately, they were out of the statute of limitations. So the court did say that they believe they're victims and they believe their circumstances, but they're not able to charge him. But that right there makes me look and speculate. They were the same age as your child, and that was also family. So it's just that in itself is a little bit strange to me too, to look over.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And they're not even allowed to go and have visitations with their other children.
Yes, that was another. They didn't get to speak to him for 6 months. It's not even a matter of even just seeing them. You're not allowed to talk to them too. I've never heard of that unless there was some kind of sexual allegations or abuse allegations. I can't see why they wouldn't be able to speak to them.
Same here, because if it was just a case of living in squalor, they would be able to go and see their children. There's some serious allegations there against them, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dad states he was at work about 45 minutes ago. He mentioned at one point he was there. There was no cops. Then he got there. There was one or two or something. His story just slightly changes. Something that traumatic, man. I could tell you details of some pretty dramatic experiences that happened 30 or 40 plus years ago. Those things don't, the details of those things usually, and your child coming up missing, you would think you would know the details of everything that happened, and your story would stay the same. And this is where I stand as far as the, abduction. As Ruby says, abducted, steep hill plus isolated area plus one way in, one way out, same way. It's not right.
Right. There's a lot of dogs on that land, man.
Yes, there is. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
There are a lot of dogs, and Chris, the detective, and when he was out there at the property, he stated that well, you could see some of the video. There's like at least 5 of them there on the driveway, and they're all wagging their tail, playing with each other, barking. There was, nobody mentioned anything about barking, although people nearby did mention a scream. They seen a strange car go by that kind of rubbed this woman the wrong way. And then they heard a car door slam. And seconds later, or whatever, they hear a blood-curdling scream. They said they recognize it as not any animal that is in the area. Oh yeah. They weren't the greatest, but that doesn't mean they did something to their little girl. Absolutely.
No, agreed.
Absolutely.
And that's why I kind of commented on the education level too, because sometimes emotion can be affected by that. You may not get the same reactions out of someone who, say, for example, because we talked about my one daughter's autistic. I don't get the same emotional reactions out of her as I do my typical children. So we don't know their background, their education level, but just from listening to their interviews, it seems like it's fairly low. And so, yes, that could play a part in it too. We're just giving our firsthand accounts of just other things that seem to add up to those circumstances of feeling like something's a little odd.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Their accounts of that day have varied, as I just mentioned with the
Yeah.
dad. Um, body language,
Hmm.
is really a big thing. If you guys are anything like me, you like watching interrogations.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I do. I think it's fascinating, the criminal psychology behind it. Um,
Which direction you look when you're telling a lie. That was something
y
they
y
touched on
you
as
you
well.
know, how you're positioned, how your hands are, just
Yeah.
certain things can tell a lot about what's going
Well,
on,
Mhm.
up
yeah.
here.
You know what threw me off and made me even talk about the mother in the first place is her talking about her daughter in the past tense in the interviews.
Yes.
It does throw me off a bit.
Mm.
I mean, it could just be a matter of the way you speak, sure. It does stand out to me.
And
If
that
it's,
was one. Sorry,
oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Bobby.
No, go right ahead.
Oh no, that was just one thing they touched on in one of the interviews as well. And I'm sorry, the names are escaping me today, and I apologize. It's probably being home with 4 kids, so I'm not quite as prepared as usual. But one of the gentlemen said that that was something that instantly stood out to him was the fact that both parents and the grandmother were speaking in past tense, as well as the kids were speaking in past tense about the little girl. But they did say the more they started to speak to people in the area, that in that area, that actually tends to be a regular thing in their speech is speaking in past tense using was or were in the incorrect form. So that could go back to education too, because generally in interviews, saying we all watch interrogations, that something would have stood out to me as well as being odd. And
Yeah.
it has in other cases as well, but that was one thing that they looked into that they said seems to be across the board for the people in that area.
Mm, yeah. As Joni mentioned, the neighbors were more rapey than they were. Yes, the dad even mentioned that. There's a lot of meth going
Yeah.
on
Hmm.
around there. Um,
Uh,
but
and
just as
you know,
audible language does affect body language as well.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And one more, and then you had something you want to say. A behavioral panel says last tense actually means nothing. Yeah, so kind of like what you were saying. It's just a way that
yeah,
they just use words incorrectly,
yeah,
Hmm.
not meaning anything
right.
by it. So good points. Go ahead, Bobby.
So if we're going to talk about a abduction, possibly, parking on that road down there, I would assume that it would definitely have to be somebody who knew that the family was there, possibly even somebody who followed them home that day.
Hmm.
This place is kind of out in the middle of
It
nowhere.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were they, I don't know, it would seem that she would probably be targeted for being taken. So maybe it was somebody who had followed him, seen him that day, followed him back, possibly. Uh, Not to rule out abduction for sure. I mean, that is the leading consensus anyway, really, is that it was an abduction as far as I could tell.
Yeah, because you
Um,
only have really two possible, I mean, outcomes,
yeah.
really. I mean,
It,
she was either something happened, whether it was an accident or not, that took Summer's life. So you may have a homicide and they, discard you, or and we have to throw. I mean, because they even said everyone is a suspect, basically.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, because they really have no leads on this, or it was just a flat out abduction. I don't really believe it was a targeted, unless they did follow
yeah.
them home.
Right.
That would explain, maybe if dogs were barking, although there's been no
Yeah.
neighbor accounts of that, just the scream. Maybe the dogs were just up by the house, didn't hear the car, coming in. Maybe it's just so many different possibilities. This makes this, a really, really tough, case.
Yeah.
Jenny says poverty, a little girl would be a major luck for those addicted to rapey neighbors.
Yeah.
Rapey
I think
neighbors.
they said also that the mother was out there looking for her at the time. She didn't mention hearing a scream. the grandmother was supposedly out there. I don't think they heard mention his grandma. I'm new to the case.
I haven't seen any interview where they mention it was just from the one neighbor, and I'm assuming her son.
Yeah. I would say that, and from what I understand also, that the parents had stopped cooperating. From what I'm seeing just in this guy, they would have to be ruled out first, and they're making it really hard on themselves to be ruled out. The fact that they took their other boys from them.
Yes,
and are
that
not
stands
looking
out a
for
lot.
them. There's something going on there that we don't know about.
Yeah, being a previous foster parent, I 100% agree with that, Bobby. Like you said, that's something that stood out because in my situation with the child that we fostered, that was the only reason she wasn't able to talk to dad. And even then, it was difficult. We still had court proceedings in the process of, although there was sexual abuse previously, and there was physical abuse, and there was neglect, they were still trying to give parents rights to be able to speak to that child, and we were fighting against that. So it is really difficult, in my opinion, from what I've seen and working in a Baltimore County school where you see a lot of abuse, neglect, and drug use, things like that. It's kind of hard to be in a position where you're get your kids completely taken away and you're unable to speak to them unless there's something on record with that.
Yeah, something as simple as living in squalor, I don't think would do it.
Nope.
I've never seen that happen.
Nor have I.
Anytime I've ever seen the kids absolutely being taken away from the parents, there was some kind of abuse going on.
Yeah. And this is a good point. Boy, Joni's on it. I think someone pulled up, parked at the base of Jody Sue's driveway to get a bag and saw Summer and grabbed her and vamped out.
Hey, very possible.
So basically an acquaintance of a neighbor. Yeah.
It looked like it was so close though. And I could be wrong. I'm not seeing it firsthand, but from the videos that we saw, like you said earlier, the grandmother's trailer was really close to the house. The house was, everything looked very close. There was a wooded area around it, but the living space looked very close. So I don't know how far the parking pad or driveway was from it, but what I saw was vehicles in the background parked right next to the trailer. So it seems like there wasn't a huge distance between driveway and house. Now I could be wrong, but you would think you would hear or see something.
Right.
Yeah, you would think so. Dogs would be barking or something would be going on.
Yeah. As far as the kids, I guess that were taken away, the boys, they were able, they just didn't try. Don says they wouldn't let them, but they didn't try, kept missing meetings, etc.
Once again, that just points to people who don't care about their children.
Exactly. Now, at least, and I have 3 kids and a grandchild, so we are all parents here. Yeah. So this is not coming from the perspective when we say, well, it seems odd of this reaction or that reaction, or why didn't they do this? Because as parents, and I think most parents would agree, if your child, we're here in Ohio in the Dayton area. If my child goes missing in this area, I don't think I'm going to, and my other 3 kids are taken away and held in this area. I don't see myself, regardless of any kind of social media backlash. Yes, there were, they were showing up at his job site, harassing the guy, which, as Joni said, just because you are maybe less educated, you don't have a lot of money, that doesn't mean that the love for your kids has nothing to do with how much money you have, what kind of living conditions you're either forced or chose to live in. That's doesn't matter to me. But what the hell
I couldn't leave.
You're not moving.
Either.
You wouldn't move.
There's no way I could leave either.
So
I'd stay there forever.
Yeah, so it kind of struck me on that they picked up within 2 years or so of her going missing and moved out of state I would not. I don't know. I mean,
I
I
couldn't.
would not leave
I wouldn't
until
either.
and then
Yeah.
going back to that case that we had briefly mentioned, where the parents keep the front porch light on.
Yeah.
They
So, you know,
refuse to leave that house.
15 years later.
To leave that,
Yeah.
15 years. They refuse to leave that house. They refuse to leave that area because they're still hanging on to hope. And I
Yeah.
think most parents would do that.
Yeah.
And
So
regardless of the harassment, I know that's got to be
exactly.
difficult to deal with. I'm sure the speculation is difficult to deal with, but none of that shit would compare to my child. Period.
You know,
That's the end. I don't
yeah.
care what you have to say about me. I'm finding my kid, and when the truth comes out, the truth comes out. I don't give a shit what you have to say. That's the way,
Right on.
personally, being a mom of four, I would deal with that situation.
Right on. Right on.
Mhm.
Now, I'm pretty new to this case. You know, I haven't really looked at a whole lot because of the Delphi stuff. It's constant. But I've seen a couple interviews with the mother. I think I've seen an interview with the grandmother, and I've seen a couple with the father. I'm just going to put this out there, man, because I don't. Has there been any talk of possibly these parents prostituting their children out? Is there anything like
I
that?
don't know.
I have not heard anything. I went down a way, a train of thought of, I think it was mentioned that the mother was using meth at one time. Says, I guess she's not now. Dad's a bad alcoholic. They drink, smoke weed, don't know what else they do. So I went down entertaining the thought, okay, was this drugs? Did they sell their child because they owed too much meth? I mean, if you're fucked up on meth, okay, you're going to do some heinous shit. I don't care how much sober you loves your kid.
Right.
Okay, that drug addiction is going to cause you to go in that drug's, favor, because, hey, was their lives threatened? There were a lot of shady neighbors that were in that area, as Joni mentioned.
I worry about something, and I think me and you, Kelly, were talking before the show about the hoopla about Summer having her head shaved. That is very worrisome to me. I've seen several groups where that was mentioned, where when a child is sexually abused, a lot of times they'll do that. They'll want to cut their hair off to make themselves look less attractive to the person who's abusing them.
I got to be honest. When I first heard the whole head shaving thing, my first thought was, okay, was there lice involved?
Could have been.
I
mean, who knows?
Because everyone had their head shaved except the dad. He had relatively short hair. Even the mom shaved her head.
I'm just wondering about possibility of uncles, family members, people who might visit and stuff like that. Maybe
Or dad being right in the house. Because
Yeah.
apparently he has a past, or he supposedly has a past of that. But also, to touch on that again, being a parent, if people are putting this story out here on any type of social media, whether it's YouTube, whether it's news channels, whatever the case may be, if someone's willing to sit and talk about it, I think I'm going to praise them for that, or I'm going to share it. I'm not going to get on and start threatening people
Right.
and saying, don't bring up this, don't bring up that, or I'm going to stab you, because apparently that's what dad was doing also. That seems a little odd to me. Yes, I understand, like I said, the ridicule of what people might speculate. It might be difficult to deal with, but in the end, they're still talking about your child. They're getting the story out there, and I don't think I'm getting upset to the point that I'm calling you and telling you I'm going to stab you if you don't stop talking about this case. So that to me also stands out about dad's allegations previously about him, and his reactions to people talking about this case stand out an awful lot to me.
Going back to staying in the area, if your child comes up missing, Joni, dude, when we were moving, wanted to dig my beloved dog's bones up and take her with me, much less if my child goes missing from there. Yeah, great,
Agreed.
great point. Great. Yeah, Candace had a love of alcohol. Don loved cocaine and drank when he couldn't do coke. Um, and you're absolutely right. There is a lot of weird stuff, but the evidence isn't there, and that's what makes this case kind of frustrating because there is no evidence. They kept it so. I don't know, man. There's and they did low key mention lice. They were probably embarrassed about it. So that explains.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
That explains. That didn't jump out to me when I first started looking into this case. The head shaving thing didn't jump out to me. She grew up around brothers. She was a tomboy.
Right.
Maybe she did want to look like her brothers. Maybe there was lice. Maybe, the mom, shaved her head. So she, shaved,
What did
it could
stand out
really
to
go.
me is there was two different stories about that though. In the one interview, right sitting next to each other, mom and dad were interviewed about it, and mom said it was because she was a tomboy like her and wanted to look like her brothers, and she had shaved her head, so then her daughter wanted to shave her head. But then in the same interview, the dad says, well, her hair was getting out of
It was
control
out of
and
control.
it
We
was,
couldn't manage it anymore.
yeah. And so then we shaved it, and then mom shaved her hair to make sure that the daughter didn't feel out of place or embarrassed by it. So that stood out to me, like Bobby was saying, it's a little odd that the stories were different to me in the
Over
same interview.
something, it's something that was really kind of trivial.
Minor.
It
Yeah.
was really kind of trivial. No reason to really lie about that.
I do say that's how she wanted it.
That's how she wanted it. I mean,
I don't know.
yeah.
This is all bizarre. I'm suspecting that they checked neighbors out and things like that. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Are they still doing an investigation? Is this like ongoing?
As far as I know, I mean, only 2 years. I can't imagine that they'd go cold. It'd go cold after 2.5 years. But this does, to me, feel like a case that unfortunately has the potential of going cold only. And I don't know if there's like a time limit. Okay, we haven't gotten anything. We have no leads. Okay, this case is going in the back burner so we can pick up new cases. I don't know if there's a time frame that cops go by when they do this. But this, it doesn't seem like, and hey, who knows? It took 6 years for Delphi. It's taken 5+ years with the Cheryl Coker case. Not all cases end up like what you see on TV where it's solved or they have somebody in custody in an hour. This, real life, it takes years. And I hope that there is some sort of, you believe, I want to say happy ending, because you still believe, you kind of have a feeling that she's still alive, Bobby.
We were talking before. I got an assumption about what's going on, but I'll just kind of keep it at that. Because I don't want to shame anybody. Not too bad. Not more than I usually do.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Dad had also made. Oh, sorry. I keep doing that to you, Bobby. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'm good. Go right ahead.
Dad had made the comment, I believe it was in the 2-year interview, I want to say, and I might be quoting that incorrectly, but he made the comment, if you have her, please just release her, no matter, what the circumstances. I know you're probably scared you'll get arrested for kidnapping, but please just release her. So that, I guess, to contradict the previous statements, I guess there is showing, well, she could possibly still be alive. Like you were saying, Bobby, which none of us know, and none of us know what he knows. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility too.
Yeah. I just, when I try to read people, when and I'm not the greatest at it, but they come off to me as parents who aren't overly upset and almost like that, they kind of know that she's somewhere. That's why I was asking about the prostitution, the possibility of them selling their kid or something. If that's ever come up, because I don't know, I get that vibe from him. The father, I almost get the vibe of, man, I know a lot, but I don't want to say anything kind of deal. Like he found out something, like they know who did this or something. It kind of is the vibe. I don't know. It's, could have just been an abduction and who knows, but there's something about it that I just kind of got the feeling that she's still out there right now somewhere.
Right. Joni says, well, they didn't search too far, and the neighbors were not interrogated thoroughly, in my opinion. No lie detector tests, etc. for the neighbors, only the parents. Joni agrees with you. I don't. Oh no, she don't agree with you. I don't. I think she's dead. But if they announce it, I will actually cry, which is weird considering I don't even know the people. And Ruby mentions, yes, it is ongoing. Officials say there's no signs of abduction. Police are small, untrained, overwhelmed, and understaffed, which could force this case, unfortunately, to go cold.
I would say this: if they sold her, I think she's alive. Maybe they were having some kind of weird rent-a-kid thing going on or something. Who knows? I mean, weirder stuff has happened. But if she is dead, then I would say I would look harder at the Hunter kid and what the relationship with the mother was and what actually happened that day. We'll see as we go further into this. I'm a noob at this case.
Yeah.
But just off the bat, that's
as you were this I think goes back to what you were mentioning about how the parents were reacting. Joni says they've accepted their fate almost.
Yeah.
They are the outsiders, not born and raised in the holler. They hated that family and thought Don should have never got the land. Yes, because he got the land from a passing of a family member.
Right.
And there's a comment that I wanted to, I think Ruby posted it earlier about this shed that kind of sits off by itself on this property that the Chris McDonough, whatever, he had mentioned. That is the first place that the dad went to look for. The very first place he went to that shed.
Yeah, that's odd.
Oh my God. In interviews, dad admitted to showering with her.
Oh.
And sleeping nude.
Can you send us that interview? Because I would definitely like to.
Yeah,
review that.
if you have a link or whatnot with that, I would love to hear that. Ruby, what if exposing who did this this summer also exposes the drug game and the looking the other way done by the sheriff? Good. That's good speculation. We need that. Go ahead.
Sorry, I must have a delay again. I'm so sorry. I keep doing that to you guys. Going back to the comment about the showering, the other thing I thought was odd was in one of the interviews they stated that Summer still slept in bed with them, and so she's still young. I'm not putting too much thought into that. But it was odd because when the other gentleman did the interview with the mom and she was showing them this space of where to get down to Summer's bedroom, she made the comment that her and her husband's bedroom was in one area and Summer's was in the back area. So was she sleeping with them? Was she not? And that story seemed to change too. So yeah, that's a little strange to me.
Yeah.
But that might also go into why maybe he liked having her in bed with him then.
That's where I kind of do think that's a big deal. A dad showering with a 5-year-old girl, sleeping nude is super gross. I think it's both super gross. But Joni did clarify what Ruby had said. Yep, that's true.
Wow.
So that
and the fact that they're keeping their other kids from a man paints a really, really bad picture.
It doesn't look good. Outside of their financial situation, their education situation, your kids are taken from you usually for a reason, and then you neglect. They can consider, a house that looks like that neglect. Yeah, I mean, you're living in almost squalor, and it was kind of hard to navigate through there from the video, that I saw. Interesting case.
You hate to
And
think
last
about it.
thoughts. We'll start with you, Bobby. You
I
got something to say.
just hate to think about it. You look at her picture. She's such a cute little kid.
Mhm.
It's heartbreaking, and hate to be even talking about it. I hope the mother and father didn't have anything to do with it.
I do too.
Agreed.
But and it just, man,
There's nothing to go on. And as it
yeah,
was mentioned with, Delphi, when, Gall keeps, things from the public, all the public can do is speculate,
yeah,
come up with their own. And these conversations and having, you guys in the chat bringing about discussions. Hey, we don't all agree on the same thing, or how this case pans out. We all have different theories, and this is good. This is what needs to happen. Good
yeah,
conversation. About these cases. Differences of opinion are actually better than not.
yeah.
Than what you would think.
Helps you rule out bad ideas and keep the good ones.
Ruby says, try to pull it up. Also, it might be the case, be bogged down because the sheriff's son was convicted for child molestation.
Oh, wow.
Wow, there.
So it gets deeper and deeper,
Uh,
and this is what we need to do. We're interested in the justice for, to hopefully find her safe.
that would be great.
We lightweight, we're joking. She could be in the Bermuda, Bahamas or something, living her best life.
Yeah.
I mean, but I doubt that's the
Yeah,
case.
I doubt it.
That's not the case. That was
And
just
kids do turn up years and years later. What was her name? Amanda Berry, the Castro case. I mean, he had
Yeah,
her in his house for what, 14 years. She had a
yeah,
child by him and everything. And I mean, it happens. Not that I want to see something like that, of course,
right.
happen to a child. But we can only hope for the best and hope that she, like you said, she's still out there.
And we'll keep an eye, on this case, and bring updates if need be. And as always, if any of you guys have any, info, come across anything regarding any of the cases that we've talked about, Delphi. I want to get back into the Idaho 4 too at some point and
Yeah.
see what's going on. Excuse me, there. Haven't looked at that one so much as you mentioned, Bobby. We've just been, Delphi.
yeah.
But if you guys have any little info on, Cheryl Coker, I know we have some local listeners. Hash Brown, I believe, might be local. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure she's local. Send them to our email, Night of the Living Dreds, and of course, no A in Dreds, as you see it there on the screen, at Gmail. And drop a line if you come across anything. It's always helpful. Hey, we have missed 4 kids from Baltimore. We're all working. It's tough sometimes, to keep on top of everything, especially with 4 kids. Oh God, I'm glad my days are over.
Yeah.
But
I'm still in those days. I'm right in the trenches with those days right now.
man, you are deep in the trenches. But I do want to thank everyone for tuning in, listen to us ramble. A lot of great comments and correcting us when we're wrong. Again, we're adults, we can take it. But hey, with that, we're gonna get the hell out of here. And thank you, Kelly and Bobby Trill.
Very much love to everybody.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Trill crime. That's what we should call it. Night of the Living Dreads. Trill crime. It's funny. All right. Hey, you guys have a great start to your week. It's Monday. I have the day off. I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of it. So take care, guys.